I'm Marta Waller. I'm here with Dr. Joe Haraszti, world-renowned psychiatrist and addiction specialist. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Marta.
We've talked a lot about Lindsay Lohan and some other young actors and celebrities. They start work when they're very, very young. Some actors start when they're very little children, and they're very accomplished. As you recall, Jackie Coogan laws were put in place to protect children from parents who put their little youngsters out to work and then stole their money.
Yes.
Pretty simply. We see Will and Jada Pinkett Smith's kids work. The daughter Willow has made a little music video very successfully, and the son has been in a movie. But they seem to be okay. How do you know when it's okay for your child to work as an actor?
Sure. Well, I think if I can give any advice to Will and Jada Pinkett Smith, I think they're both fantastic parents. I think they love their kids. They are very nurturing. They made the comment that divorce is not an option for them because they want to see this through for their children. And the fact that they have their oldest son, Trey, who's not doing the same thing, it means that they're not pushing the kids in a particular direction. They're allowing Jaden and Willow to follow in their own footsteps if that's what they want to do. So they're essentially creating an opportunity for their children to be successful and follow in their own footsteps as much as possible.
Now, there's a point at which you look at someone like Lindsay Lohan, who basically was sort of the breadwinner with her parents as her manager. What are some of the warning signs that your child isn't doing well, or you're not able to control your child who has become a movie star?
Well, I think, first of all, I think this goes for whether or not your child is going to be a tennis prodigy, a golf prodigy, or any type of sports prodigy, or actor or model. It's very important to try to provide for them as much of a normal life as possible. And by that I mean that children need to have a peer group, playmates and some constancy in their lives. It's very nice for kids to be able to go through the same elementary school with the same kids, and then in middle school to have some friends in common, and then especially in high school. And the teen years are the most important formative years because the peer group at that time has a tremendous influence in how a person turns out. Now, someone who is homeschooled, who is not exposed to that environment of having a peer group of same age peers is going to be at a tremendous disadvantage because they will have a phenomenal growth spurt in one particular area, but it will be a very narrow area. And without pointing fingers too much, we've seen some of the problems that, for example, with Tiger Woods, who was an incredible prodigy and is a prodigy in his own chosen field, but he missed out on a lot of things, and we're seeing the fallout from that. Britney Spears is another example where the parents, I think, pushed her from a very early age on. She became the breadwinner for the family, and of course Lindsay Lohan. I don't think that's what's happening in Jaden and Willow Smith's case.
So when children don't have a normal reference group, it doesn't matter what field they're excelling in.
Right.
It's damaging to their self-esteem, their ego, and their development.
Right. And also, if, for example, if they become the breadwinners for the family, then they know that they're in charge. And if they know that they have the parents over a barrel financially, then that is going to result in all kinds of problems. And I've seen that firsthand in having treated some of the celebs over the years.
Now, homeschooling in and of itself is not bad, but you have to have a group for the kids with whom they can interact. They can't always be with just the adults. They have to have children.
Absolutely.
Now, we look at kids. Let's take the Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt children. This is a little sort of nomadic family. And while they're little itty-bitty ones, it probably doesn't matter. But the older boys go to lycée schools, and they keep moving around. And I guess when you're really small, it doesn't make any difference. But when you go to one of these schools and the other children are told you may not approach them or speak to them unless they approach you, doesn't that create something of a that's almost the same as, like being the child actor. You're suddenly set so far apart that it changes your perception of the world.
Yeah, I think that's a terrible thing to tell the kids and to tell the other kids. Children will try to form bonds and relationships. I mean, that's just a natural way that children interact. And you can tell them all day long, they're going to ignore that. And having grown up in Budapest myself, and I know that's where their kids are going right now, I can tell you, Hungarian school children are not easily told that you can't talk to somebody. I mean, they're very assertive, and they will put the Jolie Pitt kids in their place.
And they may not even be the ones perpetrating this.
Yes, yes.
The school administrators are just saying you can't do this, and the Jolie Pitt kids have not done anything.
Exactly. It will fall on deaf ears as far as the Hungarian kids are concerned. I can guarantee it.
And the thing that's a shame there is that these are little kids who they don't have a fighting chance because they haven't done. They're not setting the rules.
Right. But let me address the larger issue. I don't want to get parochial about this, but the larger issue, I think, is that here we have two very talented actors as parents, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and I think they both have very active careers, and they're by no means ready to give it up for the sake of the children, as Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith are willing to do. They're willing to put their careers on hold to focus on their kids. I don't think Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt are willing to do that. They, despite the fact that Angelina keeps saying, okay, I'm going to take time off, I'm going to be with my kids, it never happens. So the two parents are fighting as to who's going to take care of the kids. And they haven't yet worked that out. And until the parents work that out, there's going to be huge problems for those children.
Now, it's a big family to be moving around.
Right. And they can't just delegate the parenting to nannies and to minders.
No, you can't.
That doesn't work.
And if we then shift back to these kids who are actually working, if parents want to put their children into movies, commercials, television, and the kids seem to be doing well, what are some of the warning signs that might tell parents that this isn't the right place for your child to be? What are some of the signals that things aren't going as well as they might look on the surface?
Well, some of the warning signs is, if the child is beginning to act a little bit too mature, if they are starting to do things that is really age inappropriate for them, if they feel like, okay, well, I should be able to use drugs because that's what other people do, and because I'm a famous would-be actor or whatever, and I'm becoming successful, everybody should fall down and worship me, so to speak. Sort of, in a sense, like the Justin Bieber syndrome. There have been some fairly nasty things that have happened with him recently, and I think it's because it's difficult for him to adjust to this newfound fame and the way that people react to him. And the same thing is going to happen to the Smith kids, Jaden and Willow, and especially Willow because she's only 9 years old. And if you look at some of her pictures, she looks like she's 9 going on 21. So I think the parents are going to have to be very careful to kind of put the kibosh on some of the things that she wants to do and tell her, hey, you're still just 9 years old. Let's work on some of the things, to help your career, musically and in terms of taking dance lessons and voice lessons and all those other things. And let's forget about doing something together with Lady Gaga. I think that's a little bit premature.
Well, I think that they certainly have the means to protect her and to insulate her from the things that are way out there. But I think a lot of parents, particularly those who are not of means, should be mindful of turning their kids into the breadwinners.
And again, the bottom line is that the parents need to know that they are the parents. And they have to set limits. Part of being a good parent is setting limits, not just letting your kids do everything that they want to do just because they're talented.
An interesting concept. An interesting concept that we shall explore further in another episode, another chat. Until then, I'm Marta Waller.
And I'm Dr. Joe Haraszti.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.